breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, William Boor, over at Action Network, who does such an incredible job taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. We're going to be chatting with him about some of the wide open races that we're seeing in the playoffs right now. We're going to be chatting a little bit about what we can expect out of some of these teams that might be starting to crater a little bit. Can the Milwaukee Brewers continue to be just as hot as lava after their massive comeback on Sunday? And we'll take a look at the Monday games as well. And then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we fire those in. First one is my Twitter /X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While we did not get in any Twitter /X questions today, everything is powered by Edge Boost. Edge Boost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever they want. With Edge Boost, they are making sure that you are able to have access to your funds 24/7, that 100% of gambling transactions do get approved. And then when you go to edgeboost.bet, put in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G, because that gives you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Sunday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Brewers just keep winning, and the Mets have now lost 11 out of their last 12 games. As for the New York Mets, they somehow, someway find a way to lose this one by a count of 7-6. The Mets got up in this game, by the way, by a count of 5-0, and then things just soiled both from there as Quinn Priester, this was not the start that he was looking for. He gave up 6 runs in 4 1/3 innings, including a pair of bombs. Going deep for the Mets, Cedric Mullins, 16th home run season. Brett Beatty is 12th, but from there, the Brewers bullpen was magnificent. D.L. Turner to Paul, 3 2/3 innings scoreless. Nick Mears a scoreless inning, and for the Brewers, William Contreras steps up in a big way. Home runs 11 and 12 of the campaign, and then Isaac Collins off of Edwin Diaz, he walks it off. His 8th home run of the season. Diaz gives up that home run in the 9th inning after getting just 1 out, and for the New York Mets, Chaminade, not the start that he was looking for. 4 runs given up in 4 innings, including one of those Contreras home runs. Reed Garrett gave up a solo home run to Contreras in his inning of work. Did have Brooks Raley and Tyler Rogers both give you a scoreless inning, and Ryan Helsley gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning as well. As you had a nice win from the Washington Nationals, this by a count of 8-0, as the Giants have really toilet bowled ever since the Rafael Devers trade for Washington. You had Mackenzie Gore look so good in this one after he had given up 6+ runs and I believe 3 out of his last 4 starts. So this is a nice turnaround there. He gives up only 3 hits, no runs over the course of 6 innings, 7 punch-outs. Cole Henry, PJ Poulin, and Clayton Beater are all able to give you a scoreless inning, and the bad year for Justin Verlander continues. 5 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, 11 hits, and a home run given up to C.J. Abrams, his 15th home run of the campaign. Spencer Bivens, 3 runs, 1 of which was earned, given up in his 3 innings of work. And then the position player, Christian Koss, he was able to give you a scoreless inning as well. For the Minnesota Twins, they do find a way to persevere, get the job done in 11 innings against the Kansas City Royals. This by a count of 5-3. As for the Twins, Jose Urena, pretty much an opener plus in this one. He gives up 1 run over the course of 3 innings. From there, Cody Funderburk, a scoreless inning. Pierce Ewell, the bulk guy, he gives you 2 2/3 innings scoreless. Cole Sands, only pound Sands, he gives up 2 runs. He gets just 1 out of the bullpen. As for the Royals, going deep off of him, Vinny Pasquantino, 20th home run season. By the way, the Royals left 15 men on base in this 11-inning game, going 1 of 15 with men in scoring position. So if you're wondering why they lost, well, that's why. As you have Michael Tonkin give you 2 scoreless innings, Justin Topa and Brooks Kriske, they both led a scoreless inning. And for the Royals, Ryan Berger, pretty solid start, 5 2/3 innings, lost 2 runs, including a home run to Mr. Fitzgerald, his first home run of the season, I believe the first career home run for Ryan Fitzgerald. So congratulations there. And then you would have a walk-off 2-run shot. So if you took the run line here with the Twins, a reverse run line, Luke Keekshull, he was able to give you his 2nd home run of the season, I believe the 2nd of his career, off of Carlos Aceves. who gives that up in 2/3 of an inning in the 11th, as you had John Schreiber, Taylor Clark, both give you a scoreless inning. Lucas Ursic gives up a run in an inning, and Anel Zerpa, he was able to give you 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. For the LA Dodgers, they had Shohei Ohtani up with the bases loaded in the 9th inning, and he's unable to come through. 5-4, the Toronto Blue Jays get the job done here as Eric Lauer gives up 3 runs in 3 innings, not the start that he was looking for, gives up a home run to Ohtani, 41st home run of the season, and then you had Mr. Freddie Freeman get his 14th home run of the season, but the Toronto Blue Jays, they were able to rally as they got a trio of home runs in the 8th and 9th inning. Vlad Guerrero Jr., 19th home run of the season. Ernie Clement, 8th home run of the season. And Edison Barger, his 18th home run of the season. Tyler Glasnow, not going to call it an amazing start as he gave up 4 walks in 5 2/3 innings, but allowed 2 runs. He did his part. You had Justin Robelski, Anthony Banda combined for a scoreless inning. Ben Kasparison out of the bullpen scoreless, but then Blake Tryon gives up 2 solo home runs in his inning work. Alex Vesia gives up a solo home run in the 9th that proves to be costly, and for the Blue Jays, bullpen was on point. Uriel Rodriguez gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning, but Jeff Hoffman, Mason Fluharty, Sir Anthony Dominguez all gave you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Brandon Little was able to combine with Louis Varland for 3 scoreless innings, and Braden Fisher gives you an out of the bullpen scoreless as well. So the Blue Jays hold down the fort, and for the Dodgers, by the way, they end up stranding 16 men on base in this game. So that was a little bit less than tremendous for them. This was less than tremendous for the Pirates as well. They fall to the Cincinnati Reds this by a count of 14-8, as for the Reds, this was not the start that Zach Little was looking for. 4 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings. From there, Graham Ashcraft, he was a load of Ashcraft. 3 runs, 1 of which was earned in 1 1/3 innings. Brent Suter from there, a scoreless inning. Luis May and Scott Barlow were both able to give you an out of the bullpen scoreless. Sam Moe gives up a run in 1 1/3 innings, and Mike Burrows gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a home run as he was taken deep by Miguel Andujar, his 7th home run of the season. From there, you had a very, very rough go of it for Mr. Cam Sanders, as he allowed 5 runs in 1/3 of an inning, including a home run to Niavoli Marte of the Marte Parte, his 8th home run of the season, and Dory Maretta, he gives up a home run, 2 runs in total over the course of 1 1/3 innings, as he gives out to Spencer Sear, 14th home run of the season. Yohan Ramirez, well, he got messed with, 3 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings. Ryan Baruchi, Isaac Madsen combined for a scoreless inning, but a little bit too late there, as for the Pirates, they actually do go 4 of 18 with men in scoring position, so lots of scoring opportunities out there, lots of scoring out there in Seattle as well. 6-3, they take down the Tampa Bay Rays, as the Seattle Mariners, one of your top over teams in all of baseball. Had Brian Wu say, not necessarily woo or boo. 3 runs allowed in 6 innings. He does give up a home run to Ha-Seong Kim, his 2nd home run of the campaign. But Adrian Hauser looked a little bit more like Doogie. 4 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, including a home run. Give it up to Mr. Cal Raleigh, his league-leading 45th of the campaign. Josh Naylor, 15th home run season. That one comes off of Brian Baker, who gives up a solo home run in his inning work. Garrett Clevenger, 8th scoreless inning. Edwin Uceta, he gives up a run in his inning work. And then you had Caleb Ferguson, coupled with Carlos Vargas, combined for 2 scoreless innings. And Matt Brash was able to give you a scoreless inning as well. Did not have a lot of scoring out there in this one, as it was a 3-2 win for the Athletics. As for the Athletics, you had one of the most interesting lines that you're going to see for a starter. Luis Morales making his first career start. 5 walks allowed in 2 2/3 innings, but he doesn't give up any runs. From there, Tyler Ferguson, 1 2/3 innings scoreless. Ben Bowden gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning, allowing a home run to Jordan Westberg, 14th home run of the season. From there, Justin Cerner, 4 outs out of the bullpen, he allows a run. Sean Newcomb, a scoreless inning, and Elvis Alvarado, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. For Kate Bovich, actually a really good start. 1 run allowed in 6 innings. Yanir Cano, Dietrich Hens, they combined for 2 scoreless innings, and the Orioles entered in the 9th inning up by a count of 2-1, and then Keegan Aiken blow the game, giving up 2 runs over the course of an inning. Being someone that had the Orioles, that one sucked, so that was not great to say the least, and this was not great for the New York Yankees. Max Fried has now allowed at least 3 runs in 7 straight starts. In 6 of the 7, they were all earned runs. 7-1 the final, as Fried gives up 4 runs in 5 innings, including a home run to Jose Altuve, his 21st home run in the campaign. Carlos Correa a little bit later on against Tim Hill, 9th home run season. Hill gives up 3 runs in his inning work. Devin Williams, a scoreless inning. Brent Hedrick, 2 scoreless innings, and nothing doing for the Yankees off of 1. Jason Alexander, 6 scoreless innings. From there, Bennett Sosa, he gets it out of the bullpen. He allows a run, and then from there, Brian Abreu, 1 2/3 innings scoreless, and Brian King was able to give you a scoreless inning, so he was the king of being able to polish things off. The Slam Diego Padres polish things off against Boston Red Sox, 6-2 the final. As for the Pods, you had Dylan Cease give up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 6 innings, so great start there. Adrian Morejon, Jason Adam both give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. David Morgan, 1 2/3 innings scoreless. And for Brian Bayo, well, he got torpedoed. 5 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. From there, Greg Weiser gives up a run in an inning. Isaiah Campbell, a scoreless inning. And you had Chris Murphy give you an out of the bullpen scoreless. And you had a lot of scoreless innings in this one from the Philadelphia Phillies as they take down the Walker Texas Rangers by a count of 4-2. Zach Wheeler not overly long for this game. 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, and he did give up a home run to Jock Peterson, 4th home run season. But for Patrick Corbin, he was even shorter for this game. 4 1/3 innings, allows 3 runs, all of which were earned, including a home run to Armando Sosa, his 6th home run of the campaign. From there, for both bullpens, they were pretty solid. Phil Matone gives up a run in an inning for the Rangers, but Hobie Milner, a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Cole Winn, 2 scoreless innings. Robert Garcia, 8 scoreless inning. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, Tanner Banks, Matt Strahm, Orion Kirkering, Yohan Duran. They're all able to give you a scoreless inning, and you had yourself a nice solid slugfest out there in this one. As for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they completely lambasted the Colorado Rockies. 33 total hits in this game, 13-6. The Diamondbacks are able to get the job done as Brenton Doyle gets his 10th home run season off of Kendall Graveman. But for the Arizona Diamondbacks, you had Anthony Del Castro get his first home run of the season off of Tanner Gordon, who gave up 10 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Not great to say the least. Ryan Rolson, he gives up 3 runs in 2 innings from there. Jane Nill, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. And then for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Brandon Pfaadt, he battled his way through 5 innings, allowed 11 hits, but he gave up 3 runs. Kendall Graveman from there gives up 3 runs in his inning work, but Jalen Beeks a scoreless inning, and John Curtis with 2 S's. He was able to polish off 2 scoreless innings of his own. Yeah, this one get polished off by our good friends, the Chicago White Sox, 6-4. They're able to take down the Cleveland Guardians. As for the Guardians, this was not what they were hoping for. That's Slade Cecconi, giving up 5 runs in 3 innings, including 2 home runs. Going deep for the White Sox, home run number 14 of the season for Lennon Sosa, and 9th of the season for Colson Montgomery. All coming in the last 32 games for him. Davis Martin, he allowed 3 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a bomb to Kyle Manzardo. 19th home run season. Manzardo would then go deep off of Jordan Leisure for his 20th home run of the season. Brandon Iser, Cam Bouger, Grant Taylor, all give you a scoreless inning from there. And for Cleveland, Colby Aller gives up a run in 2 innings of work, but not too bad there. Carlos Hernandez, a scoreless inning, and Matthew Fessa, he had a fiesta, being able to give you 2 scoreless innings as well. And then for the Detroit Tigers, they get the job done against the LA Angels, this by a count of 9-5. As for the Halos, Jack Kachanowicz continues to be miserable. He gives up 7 runs, 6 of which were earned over the course of 3 innings, including a home run, as he was taken deep by Kerry Carpenter, 21st home run of the season. And then Riley Green off of Carson Fulmer, his 27th home run of the season, but Fulmer probably should have started this game. He gave up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. Casey Mize, he gives up 2 runs in his 5 innings of work, as he was taken deep by one Mr. Nolan Schunel, his 10th home run of the season. And then you had a Rafael Montero, look more like Rafael Montero, giving up his 7th home run of the season to Luis Renifo, gave up 2 runs in 1 2/3 innings. Tommy Kahnle has had a miserable run of things as well, giving up a run in an inning, but Will Vest, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, so that polishes things off. And then you had the Atlanta Braves get the 7-1 win over the Miami Marlins. Joey Wentz leaves the Marlins wincing in pain. He gives up 1 run in 5 1/3 innings. Desmond Hernandez, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Dylan Lee, Pierce Johnson, Tyler Kinley, all give you a scoreless inning. And for Cal Quantrill, not long for this game, gives up a solo home run over the course of 4 innings, as that was to Mr. Matt Olson, 19th home run season. Then Tyler Zuber give up a pair of bombs. Marcell Ozuna, 19th home run season. Michael Harris is 12th for Zuber, 2/3 of an inning, allows 4 runs. Tyler Phillips gives up 2 runs in 1 2/3 innings as well. Like Bakar, a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. And then Calvin Fauché, he's able to land a scoreless inning as well. And then on Sunday Night Baseball, the St. Louis Cardinals do get the job done against the Chicago Cubs, this by a count of 3-2. As for the Cubs, you had Shota Imanaga give up 3 runs in 6 2/3 innings, including a home run to Mr. Pedro Pajes, his 8th home run season. Very good start for Sonny Gray. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, give it up in his 7 innings of work. From there, Riley O'Brien, Jojo Romero, they piecemeal together a combined 2 scoreless innings. And for the Chicago Cubs, Brad Keller came in. He got 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, but Cubs leave 7 men on base, so the Cardinals get back to 500. If you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, favorites have been hitting at about 57% this year, 996 and 750 on the money line. Meanwhile, if you take a look at the underrated, it's at about 51.8%, 875 unders to 814 overs. But if you look at the last 7 days, things have turned very overwhelming with 50 overs to 37 unders. And if you're looking at the money line favorites, hitting at darn near 63% over the last 7 days, 56 and 33. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do chat with one of our good friends in William Boor, does such great work over at Action Network right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man as we've got William Boor aboard. He does such great work over at Action Network, taking a look at this great game of baseball that we all know and love. I know that he's getting set for a little bit of everything as we've got ourselves some preseason football currently in our lives. I know that he's doing a tremendous job of getting set with all the futures on that front, and I know he does a great job on the college football front too. He's based out here on the West Coast, much like myself, and you're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at the letter W, last name Boor, spelled Boor all together. And William, great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Of course, Greg. Thanks for having me, and excited to hop on and talk some baseball with you.
Absolutely. And William, it does feel like that we just have a lot of hoopla going on in baseball right now. And we've talked about it a few times. And how about if we talk about it again? How in the world are the Milwaukee Brewers just continuing to win all these games? We saw it on Sunday. They were down 6-0 in that game. They somehow, some way come all the way back in that one. And it just feels like this team, is it sustainable? I don't think so. But right now they're just running off win after win.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't necessarily feel sustainable, like you said, but also at this point, I don't know, why would you doubt them also? It just keeps coming. They just keep finding ways to win. Like you mentioned, coming back from a 5-0 deficit on Sunday. Like, this is a good team. They are surging in the second half, surging post the trade deadline. Like everything's coming up, and this is interesting as they're starting to like stockpile wins. They're putting some distance between them and the Cubs. You've got some holes with the Dodgers and the pitching staff, and just you kind of look in the NL, and are things opening up Milwaukee's way? I don't know if I want to go that far yet, but I'm definitely higher on the Brewers now than I was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, etc.
Yep, it is really interesting to be taking a look at this Milwaukee Brewers team. And man, it is one of those situations where I take a look at them, and do I want to be necessarily buying on them to win the World Series? No, because we have seen them fall short time and time again, but what they've been doing has been a lot of fun, and now they're about minus 240 favorites against Pittsburgh Pirates on Monday with a total of 8, and this feels like it's run, line, or pass with regards to Milwaukee Brewers because Andrew Heaney has been terrible for the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pittsburgh Pirates just got absolutely shellacked by the Reds a day ago, and at the same time, I'm just not willing to lay like a minus 240 plus here on the Brewers.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's run, line, or pass, or if there's some other play you want, maybe you throw in the Brewers money line as a parlay to kind of reduce the juice. That's another way you could target it. But as a whole, you're not just going to hit Brewers money line at minus 240. That's just not worth it. But I also wouldn't hate the run line in this spot either. As you said, Haney has been bad, and Milwaukee is on fire right now. I don't think there's any reason to doubt this team they're obviously going to lose one eventually, but when they do, then we'll readjust from there. Right now, I don't see any reason to stop riding the hot hand.
Yep, absolutely. They've been able to do a really nice job. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, Freddie Peralta has been able to get the job done time and time again. And Andrew Heaney, well, he has been miserable on the road recently. And then I think that this one is interesting, too, because I just mentioned the Reds getting it done against the Pittsburgh Pirates on Sunday. Now you've got Andrew Abbott on the bump against Taijuan Walker, with the Reds right around about minus 125 or so favorites in that total of 9.5. Just such an interesting spot because Walker's actually been quite a bit better this year for the Philadelphia Phillies. But if you look at the advanced numbers, it appears as though he's doing for a lot of regression. And Andrew Abbott is doing for a little bit of regression too. But I just trust in him being able to get the job done. And for the Phillies, even with the pickup of Yohan Duran, I still have a lot of question marks with that bullpen.
Yeah, this is tough because the Phillies have obviously been playing well. Big weekend series for them in Texas. As we're recording this, they're up. That game's not over, but they've won 7 of 10. It's just hard to fade Philadelphia right now. They are a better team, and I'm sure you would agree with this, overall 1-25 than the Reds. The issue here is Abbott has been really good. I'm probably going to pass on this just because I don't really like fading the Phillies. But if someone wants to bet the Reds because of Abbott throwing well, because of regression, because of the Phillies bullpen, all those reasons make sense. I totally get where you're coming from, or any other Reds backers are coming from.
Yep, absolutely. And with regards to Taijuan Walker, it's been an interesting up and down sort of roller coaster for him because he has actually pitched out of the bullpen quite a bit this season, as well as William Boor does such great work over at Action Network. He's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And what do we make out of the LA Dodgers right now? Because I still do feel like if they were fully healthy and if they were at full force, this would be the best team in all of baseball. This would be the team that would be the odds-on favorite to be able to win the World Series by a long shot. But I mean, they're still a little bit banged up, but I think that it was very encouraging that over the weekend we saw Blake still have the start that he did with 10 plus strikeouts, and I think that that could be a sign of things to come, perhaps for the positive for the Dodgers.
Yeah, big series against the Angels coming up. You've got Yamamoto on the mound Monday. His past two starts, like 5 2/3 scoreless against the Rays, 1 run over 7 innings against the Reds in Cincinnati, so in Hitters Park. Those are his past 2 starts. Like you said, the Dodgers, there's been pitching questions all year. They haven't lived up to the hype, which frankly they probably weren't going to anyway, since it felt like people were picking them to win 150 games. But if they're getting healthy, you get the good start from Snell. If Yamamoto's throwing well in August and September, this is still obviously a very good team with a lot of big name players on the roster. They're obviously going to be heavily juiced in a ton of games moving forward. They're a team that you definitely want to keep an eye on. And if they start getting healthy, there might be, value in futures or just playing them on the run line and trusting the offense to kind of carry them in certain spots.
Yep, absolutely. And I do think that this is going to be a lot of fun to be taking a look at this series because you do have Jose Soriano going against Yamamoto, who you mentioned before. Total between 8 and 8.5. And how do you take a look at both this game and the series as a whole? Because I think the big X factor for the LA Dodgers is getting Max Muncy back, because I've noticed over the last few years when Max Muncy has not been out there in the lineup for the Dodgers, they just seem to always go down the toilet bowl.
Isn't that weird? You look at the Dodgers lineup and the names that, everyone thinks of, the Otanis, the Freemans, the Betts, they're just loaded with stars. And then all of a sudden you realize it comes down to someone like Max Muncy, who's a very good player in his own right and would be a, star, top of the order guy on like most teams. But in this lineup, he's like the 5th or 6th most notable player. But sometimes it is those players who, really make the engine turn. And that's kind of what's going on with the Dodgers. But as far as this game, this series, I mean, I like the Dodgers. I think the thing that's interesting here is that with the Padres surging the way they are, it's kind of making the Dodgers keep the foot on the gas the way we didn't necessarily think they were going to have to in August and September. I think preseason, we kind of thought they were going to run away with this division, and they're obviously still winning it. They're still in good shape, but they're going to have to push towards the end more than I was probably anticipating a couple months ago.
Yep, I'm right there with you. It's been quite surprising what we've been seeing out of the Dodgers this far this season. All the injuries have really caught up to them, and I think that this one is going to be a fun one as well. Now, we're doing this without any opening numbers up on the board, but it appears as though Christian Javier is going to be making his first start of the season for the Astros, going up against the Boston Red Sox, with it being Garrett Crochet. How do you take a look at a matchup like this where Christian Javier, he's making his first start of the season? He looked relatively solid in his last minor league rehab appearances, but even last year, he looked incredibly shaky. So I think that this is going to be a big old jury's out situation, and I typically like to fade these guys in their first start coming off the injured list.
I'm with you, especially when you have a starter like Crochet on the other side. It'd be kind of interesting and maybe more dicey if you had anyone else in the Red Sox rotation. But I think when you got a guy making his first start, you don't know what to expect, and you've got on the other side, you've got the other team's ace. I think it's just simpler and easier to just back the ace. Crochet's thrown well all year. The Red Sox are playing well. Just take Boston and call it a day.
Yep, and with the Boston Red Sox, I'm very curious to see where they're going to be opening up, because I'd be probably willing to make them like a -135, -140 favorite personally. So we shall see how that one is going to be shaking out. And then with the New York Yankees, they are just barely up on the Cleveland Guardians for that final spot out there in the American League wild card. They're going to need to be able to get some wins in this series against the Minnesota Twins. It's Will Warren against Zebby Matthews, and Warren's about a -165 favorite. How do you look at both this game and the Yankees overall? Because the good news is you get back Aaron Judge. Bad news is the pitching has been incredibly inconsistent, with Max Fried really falling down the toilet bowl.
Yeah, Fried struggling on Sunday was not what you want to see if you're a Yankees fan or have Yankees futures or anything like that. This is tough. They need this series. They need to beat the Twins. The Yankees, they were in obviously a very good spot for the first couple months of the season, but the past month, 6 weeks has not been kind to them at all. They are not in a good spot. They've lost 7 of their past 10. They've slipped in the AL East. Like you said, that wild card is now on the verge of getting away. This is scary times if you're a Yankee fan. And I think I mean, it's definitely time to panic. Like you said, you've got Judge back, which is super exciting, but he can only, drive in so many runs. If you're giving up 9 every day and making a ton of errors in the field, it doesn't really matter if Judge hits a 2-run homer in the third.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that that's such a good point that you make on that front. And I do think that we've got ourselves some really interesting series in general. And we've got ourselves just a lot of intrigue with that American League wild card as well. And how do you take a look at that American League wild card? Because I do think that that's one of the better races that we've got in all of baseball. And even though the Rangers are a few games back, I do think that there's a little bit of value on them.
Rangers are interesting, although tough weekend for them losing to the Phillies. That was not what they needed. But overall, yeah, they're playing better. The Yankees are slipping. I really like Boston in this race. I think Seattle might be the best team in the American League right now. So I think one of those spots goes to Seattle or Houston, depending on how that AL West race shakes out. The Rangers are interesting. The Guardians really interesting as well, surging. I think the Guardians are interesting. They've still got a negative run differential on the year, so I don't necessarily know how good they are. Their expected win-loss is about 5 wins short of their actual record. So some regression is coming, but does that regression, I mean, the season's winding down. Does that regression hit now or does it hit in the wild card round? If it hits in the wild card round, then at least they got in the playoffs. That's cool. And it's just hard to trust the Yankees. I think the Yankees obviously have a playoff caliber roster, it would seem, but they're not playing like that. And if they keep slipping, they're definitely leaving the door open for Cleveland or Texas.
Yep, they certainly are. And that wild card race, I think is going to be a lot of fun because the Boston Red Sox are another team I think is so fascinating as well. And I'm not sure if you agree with this, but really felt like addition by subtraction ever since the Rafael Devers trade.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's crazy. When the Giants got Devers, we thought, okay, the Giants are about to make a run. Boston's kind of reloading for the future and they'll figure it out. And I think, that was the plan. I think Devers will be fine in San Francisco over the next year or two. But I didn't expect Boston to all of a sudden surge like this. And it's crazy to see. It's pretty cool to see. I don't know if, trading your star and then surging is going to be a new market inefficiency, but it is crazy to just see what Boston's been able to do over the past couple months. And if they're able to keep it up, because now, I mean, they're playing really well.
Yeah, they certainly are, and it's going to be a really fun race out there in the American League, as I think that both leagues are wide open. The American League, if the National League is open, it's very, very, very open, so always love to be able to see that, and this, I think, is fun as well. The Rays are right now an underdog against the Athletics, with it being Ryan Pepiot against Jeffrey Springs. Right now, the A's are about a minus 120 and a total of 10. Now, with the Rays, they're in a big, giant West Coast road trip right now because they had a very front-loaded schedule in terms of our home games, but this does feel a little bit off, and I feel like Ryan Pepiot might be able to provide a little bit of value here, especially with it being a game out there in Sacramento where things just go harebrained and crazy, it feels like.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I can get the Rays at plus money here, I want the Rays. I think these starting pitchers, honestly, probably like Pepiot a little more anyway. But even if you view them about even, I kind of like taking the dog in games in Sacramento just on principle because it's such a hitter's park, because things get weird. If we've got a game that's, 7-5, 9-8, something like that, then I would rather just have the plus money team.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I do think that the Rays provide a little bit of value here. And anything else that you're going to be taking a look at in terms of the Monday card?
Probably not a ton of value on a betting standpoint, but because the Rangers had that tough weekend against the Phillies, you've got Eovaldi starting at home on Monday against the Diamondbacks team that sold. The Rangers need that win on Monday, especially with Eovaldi, but they need that series as a whole. So probably not a ton of value there as far as betting that game, but that's something to keep an eye on just as the Rangers as a whole. If you want to look into Rangers futures or something, maybe there might be worth, depending on the price. I haven't looked at this. I'm kind of talking my through it right now, but maybe look at the Rangers, a wild card to make the playoffs, something like that. It might be worth taking a stab before tomorrow's game, because obviously those odds are going to go up if they win 2 of 3 from the Diamondbacks or sweep the Diamondbacks or anything like that.
Yep, and I think that that's a good call on Nathan Eovaldi. Man, that guy has been absolutely tremendous this year. Almost as tremendous as you, William, as you do such a great job over there at Action Network, taking a look at a little bit of everything. I know that you guys are getting set for football season. You're doing a great job on the baseball front and so much more. So love to give people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, of course. Find me on Twitter at WBoor, WBOOR. Or if you just want the betting picks, I'm in the Action Network app at William Boor _, all one word. Don't just follow me. Make sure to check out the app, check out the website for all the great work my colleagues are doing. As Greg mentioned, we've obviously got baseball every day. We've got WNBA odds and picks. We've got NFL preseason. We're going to have NFL regular season. A bunch of college football stuff is live on the site now, even more going live this week. And just a little teaser, if you want to, follow all my coworkers and stuff. Last night, we did hit a plus 1900 homer parlay. So there's fun stuff on the website every day.
Oh, that is absolutely tremendous. Everyone loves a good dinger parlay, and it is a dinger when it hits. And William, he does such a great job of taking a look at this sport. So a big thanks to William for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network. Taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So big thanks to William for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81, and we're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any Interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice and clean and easy. So we start things off with 951, 952 on the card. The Philadelphia Phillies are on the road against the Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati, who's on to Andrew Abbott getting the start for them. Taijuan Walker goes for the Phils, and the Phillies do find themselves as anywhere between plus 104 to plus 110 underdogs, minus 118 to minus 126 is that number on Cincinnati. 9.5 is the total. Under is minus 120, and the over is even. And I made the Reds minus 142. I'm going to be willing to lay the money line for Taijuan Walker. He's been much better this year with a 3.53 ERA. Last year, he was giving up 2.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings. This year, it's still too high, but it's better at 1.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings. But he's not as good as a 3.53 ERA pitcher. He's got a 4.99 fielding independent, so I look for that to come back to earth a little bit. Andrew Abbott, he had a little bit of a rough go of it in his last start, but he has still given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 16 out of his 20 starts this season. Overall, does have a 2.34 ERA, which I expect a little bit of regression to. He's giving up 1 home run per 9 innings, 2.7 walks per 9. Like, those are relatively solid numbers, but still a 3.79 fielding independent, so you do have to have a few question marks there, but he does go up against the Philadelphia Phillies lineup that hasn't been quite the same with their offense when they've been at home rather than away from home. For the Philadelphia Phillies, they're averaging about 5.1 runs per game at home, closer to about 4.3 runs per game away from home, and they've really just been carried by what Kyle Schwarber has been able to do thus far this season. Schwarber has been absolutely incredible, pounding out 40 home runs, over a 375 on base, so you'd love to be able to see that. And since coming out the injured list, Bryce Harper give you about a 360 on base. He's up to 17 home runs. That's solid. Trey Turner, double-figure amount of homers, over 20 stolen bases, so he's been solid. You've got a lot of guys that they move the line, like Omando Sosa, Nick Castellanos, sitting in the neighborhood about a 262, 270. You've been able to have JT Realmuto at a 275. Alec Bohm has been okay, so you don't necessarily have the super-duper pop, but you've got guys who are able to get on base. And then for the Philadelphia Phillies, without question, adding Yohan Duran in this bullpen has been solid as he, Orion Kerkering, Matt Strahm, Tanner Banks, all have a sub-326 ERA. Problem is, all 4 of those guys got used yesterday as well, so that's something that you don't love to see. And for the Reds, they did have to go quite deep into their bullpen yesterday in a 14-8 slugfest against the Pittsburgh Pirates. But you've had some relatively good relievers, Tony Santillan, Luis May, Brent Suter, along with Emilio Pagan, all all sub 360 ERA. It's not a great bullpen. It's not a terrible bullpen. And for the Reds, you could use a little bit more pop outside of Elly De La Cruz, who's been incredible. He's been able to give you now 19 plus home runs, over a 350 on base, but you're starting to get that a little bit more out of Spencer Steer. Goes EPS rate for his 14th home run of the campaign. And you do have guys who are moving the line. TJ Friedel, Gavin Lux, along with Mr. De La Cruz, along in that neighborhood about a 275 for Friedel, about a 375 on base. They picked up Miguel Andujar sitting at 300, and Niavalia Marte coming off the injured list. He hits about a 285, and Austin Say's kid is able to give you a double figure amount of homers. Do you think that the Reds go out there, get the job done? And I do think that this total is a scotch shoe high. So I tell 9.2 so, and on the 9.5 under and the Reds money line. 953, 954 on the card. The Milwaukee Brewers playoffs to the Pittsburgh Pirates. As walk at the plank for the Buccos, it's Andrew Heaney, and it's Jose Quintana on the bump for the Brewers. With the Brewers, you're going to be finding their money line right around about minus 199 to minus 210, but the run line, if you're looking to lay run half, right around even money to minus 110, and total on this game between 8 and 8.5. On the 8.5, the under is minus 120, the over is even. On the 8, over is minus 115, under is minus 105, and with the Brewers, I'm willing to go in up to a minus 105 on the run line. For Andrew Heaney, it's just been a no good, really bad, terrible second half of the season for him. He actually had like 10 or 12 really good starts to begin the season, but his strikeout numbers are way down, and that has caught up to him. As for Andrew Heaney, 6.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's the lowest that it's been since 2014. He's giving up 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, which that's above his career average of 1.6 bombs per 9 innings, 4.77 ERA, 5.32 fielding dependent, and it gets way worse when he's on the road. As at home, he's actually been a halfway presentable pitcher. On the road, not so much. 6.55 ERA on the road with over 2 home runs allowed per 9 innings. So you do have a guy in Jose Quintana who I believe is doing for a bit of regression as well. He's posting up an ERA that's hovering right around about a 3.55, but that fielding independent is darn near a point higher, as he's been giving up 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, only about 6.3 strikeouts to 3.3 walks per 9 innings. But the good news is he gets a face-off against the Pittsburgh Pirates team that is currently dead last in terms of runs per game in all baseball. Now they are still averaging only about 3.1 runs per game away from home. They've been able to get a little bit more power, but still, you've got 3 guys on the roster with over 5 home runs this season. Oneil Cruz, Brian Reynolds, along with Andrew McCutchen, and outside of that, you've got a lot of guys who are just not getting on base. Henry Davis, Jared Trollo, Jack Swaniski, you've got Lovar Piguero, Oneil Cruz, who I mentioned before. All these guys are hitting at 223 or lower. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, it's a bullpen that's starting to go down the toilet bowl, as you've got the likes of a Ryan Baruchi, Yohan Ramirez, Cole Sanders, a whole bunch of guys with an ERA that is above a 4.5. Isaac Madsen, Braxton Ashcraft, they've been able to give you sub 3.5 ERA, but they traded away David Bennar at the trade deadline. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, it's a bullpen that's really been revamped. Ever since the beginning of the month of June, they've been a top 8 team with regards to bullpen ERA. Aaron Ashby, Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe, Nick Mears, these are all guys that have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. DL Hall was really good in long relief yesterday to be able to save a lot of those guys as well. And for the Brewers, you've only got one guy that is currently in the lineup because they are currently dealing with an injury to both Rhys Hoskins along with Jackson Chourio. That's giving you over 11 home runs, actually 12 home runs with William Contreras going deep yesterday, but that'd be Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich, he's up to 20 plus home runs. He's done a nice job giving you about a 340 on base, but they just have a lot of guys in general that find a way to move the line. As Contreras, who I just mentioned, 354 on base. He's been able to give you 12 home runs. Andrew Vaughn, since becoming a member of the Brewers, is hitting above at 300, so that's been nice. And then you've got the likes of Bryce Terang, Sal Frelick, Isaac Collins, Caleb Durbin, all hitting for at least a 335 on base. Collins is up to a 395 on base, and I do think that the Brewers take it to the Pirates here. Made my total in 8.6, so I'm in on the over, and I'm in on the Brewers laying run half on that run line. 955, 956 on the card. The Colorado Rockies are on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Miles Michaelis is on the bump for the Cards, and for the Rockies, it was to be determined now going to be Chase Dollander for them. This is a game that is presently off the board. Now it's looking like it is going to be Chase Dollander after all, and with Dollander 6.66 ERA, 2 home runs per 9 innings. He's giving up over 4 walks per 9. Going to be his first start in over a month, so I had to set a hefty money line. Set the Cardinals at a minus 238 on the money line. I'd be willing to go up to a minus 133 on that run line and set a sky-high total of a 9.6. So 9.5 or less, I'm in on the over, a 10 or higher to the under. Anthony Molina made a start, I believe, 5 days ago. So again, this should be his turn in the rotation. He was being utilized as a long relief piece a little bit earlier on in the season for the the team. And you got a guy in Miles Mikolas that pitches to a whole bunch of contact as he gets absolutely no deception whatsoever. Mr. Miles Mikolas, 5.11 ERA compared to a 4.90 fielding dependent, 6.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. He always keeps the walks down. He's only giving up about 1.9 walks per 9, but the 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, less than tremendous, and he's given up 5+ runs in 2 out of his last 4 starts, but does get to go up against a Colorado Rockies team that is currently dead last in the big leagues in terms of road on-base percentage. On the road, they're averaging 2.93 runs per game. That is last in all baseball. You just have a lot of guys that they can't hit away from home. Outside of Hunter Goodman. Hunter Goodman, he's been able to give you 12+ home runs away from home. He's been pretty rock solid, but a lot of these guys that overall for the season have been relatively rock solid, they do take a big giant drop-off when they're away from home. Now, I will say, you've had a guy in warming Bernabel, who's been able to hit well above a 3-ER with like 4 home runs over the last 2.5 weeks. So that's been a nice sign for the Colorado Rockies. And then you do have the likes of it, Ezekiel Tovar, Mickey Moniak hitting above a 260. And Moniak has actually been able to give you some good power thus far this season. He's up to, I believe now, 16 home runs this season. Actually make that 17 home runs. But that said, when you take a look at these guys away from home, they're not hitting the same. Mickey Moniak on the road, 254 on base with 6 home runs. You've had Michael Toglia hit a $152 when he's been away from home. Jordan Beck is hitting at 220 when he's away from home. So these guys all fall down the toilet bowl. Therio Estrada is hitting at 280 away from home. So that's relatively solid, but that's a big giant split there. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, this team is in the bottom 7 in all of baseball in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. As you've had Wilson Contreras be able to give you some power. He's up to 16 home runs this season. His on-base percentage hovering in the neighborhood about a 345 to a 350. Then you've got Brendan Donovan, Alec Burleson hitting about a 280. So these two guys have been rock solid. Lars Zupar has come off the injury list, and he's up to 12 home runs, but he and so many others have just been hitting in that neighborhood of like a 230 or so. You've got Jordan Walker, Victor Scott, Nolan Gorman. You need a little bit more on base out of some of these guys, but the Cardinals bullpen still relatively sturdy and steady, even though they trade away Ryan Helsley. Got the likes of Jojo Romero, Riley O'Brien, Kyle Leahy, Matt Svanson, give you an ERA below a 3. And for the Colorado Rockies, you just don't have any sort of bullpen pitching whatsoever, as right now Victor Vodnik has been able to supply a sub 450 ERA. You've been able to get a few okay innings out of someone like a Jaden Nill. Juan Mejia hasn't been awful, but past that, it's been really just a poo-poo platter of different guys giving you an ERA above a 5. Zach Agnos, who's on the injured list, Ryan Rollison, Anel Shavili, these guys have been pretty awful to say the least, and I do think that for Miles Mikolas, he gives up some runs, but I think that the Cardinals pound. I did set a total of a 9.6, 9.5 or less, looking at the over 10 or higher. The under will lay up to a minus 133 on that Cardinals run line, plus 230 and 9 or higher. We'll be looking at that Rockies money line, 957, 958 on the card. The Giants play OC Slam Diego Padres. Yu Darvish goes for the Pods. We are thinking, as this is currently off the board with it being TBD for the Padres, Logan Webb on the bump for the Giants. So we currently do not have any numbers up for this game. This is supposed to be Yu Darvish's turn through the rotation, and if we do indeed get Yu Darvish going up against Logan Webb, I did set the money line of the Giants at a minus 148, so we'll be willing to go up to a minus 147 there, plus 149 or higher. We'll be willing to take a shot on the Padres, and then set a total of 7.1, 7 or less, looking at the over 7.5 or higher. The under for Logan Webb all throughout his career has always been so rock solid at home, and just overall this season, I recognize that he's had a few rough starts recently. He had the combined 10 runs given up in the 2 starts against the Mets and the Toronto Blue Jays, but he gets back on track. A combined 21 strikeouts, 2 runs allowed in 11 and 2/3 innings in his 2 starts against the Pirates, which has a very nice bounce back there. But for Logan Webb, has done a nice job in terms of getting whiffs this year. He's up to about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's giving up only about 0.6 home runs per 9 innings. He's got a 278 home ERA, 370 ERA on the road, very representative of his career numbers. Career about a 270 home ERA, closer to a 4 ERA away from home, and he is still backed up by one of the top bullpens in all baseball, albeit you're missing a lot of the pieces that made that one of the top bullpens in all baseball, as Camilo Duvall, Tyler Rogers, guys like this are out of the fold, but you still do have quite a few solid guys like a Randy Rodriguez, Jose Buto, Joey Lucchesi. These guys a sub 3.5 ERA, and for the Giants, really the main issue that you've had with this team has been the offense, as Rafael Devers, 7 home runs in 46 games for the team since getting to San Francisco, hitting below a 240, but William Adames over the last 45 days has been hitting above a 270, double-figure amount of homers in that time span. Matt Chapman up to about a 340 on base. He's up to 16 home runs. Eloy Ramos, 14 bombs. He's hitting about a 275, so you've got some relatively rock-solid pieces there, but in the bottom of the full with Patrick Bailey, throw in there Tyler Fitzgerald. A lot of guys just have not been able to really produce for you. And then for the San Diego Padres, this team is still in the bottom 10 of the big leagues in terms of runs per game, albeit they did a nice job picking up a pair of guys in Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano at the trade deadline from the Orioles at 4-5 things, 14 plus home runs out of both of these guys, above a 340 on base apiece. Luis Arias at the top has been able to hit just below a 300. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., both of these guys at 360 on base. Tatis 17 home runs, 20 bombs out of Manny Machado, and Xander Bogaerts, since the beginning of the month of June, hitting darn near 300. He's been solid. Gavin Sheets is up to 15 home runs, but that entire catcher spot has been rough. You've had just a mismatch of different guys in the outfield that have not been able to produce, and for the Padres, really the key for this team is a bullpen. They're number one in terms of bullpen ERA in all of baseball. Now, Mason Miller is a guy that I don't really think elevates his bullpen because you got plenty of good pieces outside of him. The likes of Jeremiah Estrada, Jason Adam, David Morgan, Adri Morejon have all been able to give you a sub-265 ERA. Wandy Peralta has been pretty solid in the bullpen. I recognize that we have seen Robert Suarez blow a few games, but he's still a relatively good closer as well. So it's an interesting circumstance here. If you do indeed get Yu Darvish, he has been very much struggling this year. As for Mr. Darvish, he has made 6 starts. He's down to about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, rocking a 6.51 ERA. He's looked a little bit better recently, but I mean, still, he has given up 3+ runs in pretty much all but I think one of his starts thus far this season. Has been able to give a lot of length, 5 innings or fewer in all but one of them as well. So I do think that the Padres are going to be very dependent upon that bullpen, but he does get to face off against a Giants team that has been really rough with their offense. So 7 or less, looking at the over 7.5 or higher, the under, want to lay up to a -147 on the Giants, plus 149 or higher, looking at the Padres, and probably wouldn't have too much of a change in handicap if it's someone other than Yu Darvish, by the way. 959, 960 on the card. The Minnesota Twins are on the road facing off against the New York Yankees. As you've got one Mr. Will Warren on the bump for the Yankees. Zebby Matthews goes for Minnesota. Minnesota is an underdog between +138 to a +145, -160 to -170. That number on the Yankees, and total on this game is 8.5. The over is -120 and the under is even. And when it comes to the Yankees, I did set them on the money line at a -183. I'm going to be willing to lay this number for Will Warren. I do think that he's doing for a bit of positivity to an ERA that is currently well above a 4, as he's not really giving up the deep ball too much. His home runs per 9 rate is right around about a 1. He's getting 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, so 4.44 ERA, 361 fielding dependent, and he's given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 4 out of his last 5 starts. Meanwhile, for Zebby Matthews, he's also been a really nice strikeout pitcher that just does not put it together at the big league level. Now, I will say he's given up 0 or 1 runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts. He's also given up a 5 spot in 2 out of his last 4 starts too. So you got the best of it and you've got the worst of it there. For Zebby Matthews, by the way, 5.17 ERA, 274 fielding dependent, 11.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. So that is very encouraging, but he's also backed up by a bullpen that is now just completely gutted. As I mean, all those good pieces like Yohan Duran, Danny Kalum and company, they're out. So now you're relying upon Cody Funderburk, Cole Sands, and guys that you really can't trust him, Michael Tonkin. And for the Twins, right now Byron Buxton is on the injured list, and he was the heart and soul of that offense. You've been able to have some relatively good production out of Royce Lewis since coming out the injured list, since coming out the IL. He's been hitting above a 250. Trevor Larnach just up to 15 home runs, hitting about a 245. Brooks Lee has been able to move the line for you a little bit as well. And Matt Wallner does have 16 home runs. Problem is he's also hitting about a 220. And then likes of Deshaun Kersey, Christian Vasquez, the young guys just have not been able to step up for this team. And for the New York Yankees, you've got Aaron Judge back, who's been able to supply over a 440 on base. Everyone always talks about the home runs, but he does an incredible job of moving the line to go along with those 37 bombs. And then Cody Bellinger, Trent Grisham, Jazz Chisholm, all between 19 and 21 home runs this season. Bellinger is hitting at 275. You've been able to have a relatively good on-base percentage out of Jazz Chisholm at right around about a 330. Trent Grisham, about a 350 on-base. Now, you do need more on-base out of Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe. Wells is sitting for 15 home runs, but a 208 with a 267 on-base, a 285 on-base for Volpe with his 17 home runs. So this is a bit of an all-or-nothing team, and for the New York Yankees, the bullpen has, without question, been very suspect to say the least. Camilo Doval has not necessarily panned out for them thus far. David Benhar had a rough first performance, but he looks like he's starting to find his form. You've got Luke Weaver starting to look a little bit better. He and Yuri De Los Santos have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but likes of Jonathan Loaizaga, JT Brubaker, Mark Leiter Jr., more of these other guys, in air quotes, they have just not been amazing for this team. But I do think that the Yankees get to Zebby Matthews, put up a nice number, and get the job done. So by total 9.1, 1, I like the over and the Yankees on the run line, assuming that you're able to get a little bit of a plus number. As with regards to my run line price, I set that at a plus 104 right now, taking a look at that initial FanDuel opener, which wish we got a few more than that. Right now I'm seeing that at a plus 140, which I don't think that we're going to get quite that good, but I'm certainly in on that run line, and I'm going to be in on this total over as well. 961, 962 on the card. The Detroit Tigers are on the road against the Chicago White Sox, as it's old undecided on the bump for the White Sox. Chris Paddock goes for Detroit, so I have to give you guys my own handicap, as right now I was seeing on CBS Sports a projected start of Tyler Alexander, which that would mean that he's probably going to be some sort of a bulk guy, and he'll probably pitch like 3 to 4 innings, I would think. And if you do indeed get this, I set the Tigers at a minus 159 on the money line. Even money or better, I'd be taking a shot on the run line. Plus 160 or better, looking at the White Sox, and made a total of an 8.9. So in at for less, in on the over 9 or higher, the under. Do have to think that Alexander is probably going to be in this game in some form or capacity. Last time he went was on August 6th for 4 1/3 innings, and actually went scoreless there. He was pretty much a bulk guy in that game as well. And for Alexander, he's spent some time with the Brewers and the White Sox this year. Overall, 4.52 ERA, but a 3.32 fielding dependent. He's given up only about a half home run per 9 innings. His strikeout numbers right around about 7.5 punch outs per 9, which is relatively on par with what he's been throughout his career. He doesn't give up a lot of walks. He doesn't necessarily get a lot of strikeouts. And I mean, for Chris Paddock, he's very much the same way as for Paddock. He has been having himself an up and down season. 4.91 ERA. He gets about 6.5 strikeouts to 2 walks per 9 innings. Since joining Detroit, he's made 2 starts for them. 5 runs allowed in those 10 innings across those 2 starts. Nothing great, nothing terrible. He does now get to go up against a Chicago White Sox team that has been rough with regards to offense. For the White Sox, bottom 5 team in terms of runs per game, as you just don't have a lot of power with this team. Andrew Benintendi, Luis Robert, Miguel Vargas, Lennon Sosa, all between 12 and 14 home runs this season. Nobody else with more than 9, though. I will say Colson Montgomery, 9 home runs in 31 games. That has actually been very nice for this team. And when it comes to this lineup, you just don't have a lot of guys that are aiming for a ton of average, as you've got Benintendi and Luis Robert, I mentioned before, along with Joshua Palacios, Josh Rojas, Vinny Capra, Michael A. Taylor. So many guys right now. They're hitting at 226 or lower. Even Colson Montgomery hasn't been able to hit for a ton of average as well. You do have Edgar Kierra, though, hitting for about a 270, and Lennon Sosa is up to about a 280. For the White Sox, this bullpen has actually been pretty solid. They're in the upper halves of the big league in terms of bullpen ERA. Would not be surprising to see some innings out of Mike Facil. Has been a good long guy. He and Dan Altavilla is currently on the injured list, below 250 with regards to their ERA, and Steve Wilson has been pretty solid, posting up 3 ERA. More of these shorter guys like Jordan Leisure, Brandon Iser, Grant Taylor and company have been posting up a sub 3.75 ERA, actually higher than a 3.75 ERA, so that's been a little bit of an issue, but I do think that for the Detroit Tigers, they're going to do a nice job holding down this offense, and I do think that they should be able to get to that bullpen. As for the Tigers, top 8 team with regards to runs per game, you've got Riley Green pounding at 27 bombs, hitting at 270. Torkelson, Spencer Torkelson, 25 home runs. He's got about a 330 on base, and then just all across the boulevard for the team. Guys hitting in that neighborhood about a 262 to 272. Dylan Dingler, Gleyber Torres, Gary Carpenter is up to 21 home runs, by the way. Zach McKinstry, Javi Baez, Wencio Perez, Cole Keith, all in that fold. And for the Tigers, it has been a bit of a rough go of it with regards to their bullpen as well, which is very ironic because that's a big reason why they were able to have their surge last season. As for the Detroit Tigers, if you look since June 1st, they're actually a bottom 5 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Tommy Kahnle has been a disaster for them with over a 4 ERA. They tried out Carlos Hernandez. That was not a situation that worked out very well for them. You have been able to have Brant Herter along with Will Vest be able to give a sub 3.5 ERA. So these guys have been pretty rock solid. They pick up Kyle Finnegan at the trade deadline, but he hasn't necessarily been great either. But again, you get to go up against one of the worst lineups in all of baseball. So 8.5 or less, looking at the over 9 or higher, the under. And for the White Sox, would need at least plus 160 to take a shot there. If you look at the Tigers, even money or better, will be willing to take a shot on that run line. 963, 964 on the card. The Astros play host to the Boston Red Sox. Garrett Crochet is on the bump for the Sox, and Christian Javier is on the bump for the Houston Astros. As of right now, I'm really not seeing any openers with regards to this game, so I'm just going to need to give you guys my raw handicap. I'm seeing one right now. The Red Sox are minus 172 on the money line over at FanDuel, plus 144 on Houston, and then a total of 7.5 overs at even money, and the unders at plus 120. And this circumstance where I'm very much going to be taking a shot on the over, as I did set my total at a 7.8, and I made the Astros a plus 137, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the money line. For Javier, last year, he made only 7 starts, so he's been out for a little bit over a year. He had a 3.89 ERA, and really the last 2 years has been a little bit shaky. The swing and miss stuff has been down. If you take a look at his minor league rehab appearances, which I'm not going to stick overly much stock in, but I mean, he's made a grand total of, I believe, 5 of them. He was getting about 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He was really giving up the walks in a few of them, so that's something that you do need to take caution of, but I do think that he's going to be able to give you just a few solid innings, and he is backed up by an Astros bullpen that is currently in the top 5 in the big leagues in terms of ERA, so it's not like you need Christian Javier to go out there and give you like 7 scoreless innings or anything like that, because you've got Josh Hader looking like the Josh Hader of old, the Bryants, Brian King, Brian Abreu, Bennett Sosa, throw in there Steven Okert, guys like this have been able to give you a sub 3.30 ERA, and then for the Astros, it is a lineup that is getting healthier, as you've got a pair of guys in Christian Walker, Yadier Diaz, both at 16 home runs. Neither guy is giving you over a 305 on base, so you need that to improve a little bit, but I mean, Jeremy Pena coming back, providing a 315 average with a double-figure amount of bombs is big. Jose Altuve is up to 21 home runs. Victor Caratini has been able to give you double-figure amount of homers as well, so these guys have been able to do a pretty solid job, and then on the flip side, you've got a Boston Red Sox team that they've got a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA, and Aroldis Chapman has been perhaps the best closer in all baseball. For Aroldis Chapman, right now, he's got a sub 175 ERA, and he's backed up by guys like Justin Wilson, Greg Weiser, Garrett Woodlock, Brendan Bernardino, who've all been able to give you a sub 315 ERA. For the Red Sox, you've had really good production out of Weiler Abreu, who's wild out, 21 home runs, hitting about a 250. A lot of guys in this lineup that are just sort of giving you that double-figure amount of homers between about, we're going to call it 14 and 12. Jaron Duran is up to 12 bombs, hitting at 265. Alex Bregman, 14 bombs. He's been able to give you now a on-base percentage of a 380. Ceddanne Rafael, 14 home runs, hitting about a 260. Trevor Story's up to 18 bombs. He doesn't give you a lot of on base, but he moves the line, and then someone like a Rob Refsnyder, Roman Anthony, guys like this hitting at 275 have been solid. Masataka Yoshida hitting about a 260 since coming off of the injured list as well. So you do have some firepower with this Boston Red Sox lineup, and obviously Garrett Crochet has been absolutely tremendous this season. He's posting up a sub 275 ERA. His strikeouts per 9 rate absolutely supreme with 11.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's had a few, shall we say, a little bit more shaky starts recently, as for Garrett Crochet, he has given up 2 earned runs or fewer in each out of his last 5 starts. He did give up a pair of homers to the LA Dodgers 2 starts ago, but I mean, overall, he's been able to do a nice job holding down the fort, but I do think that with the Houston Astros, they're being dogged a little bit too much in this spot. If I'm able to get a plus 140 or higher, I'm going to be willing to take a shot there. I did set my total at 7.8, so at the 7.5, I'm in on the over. 965, 966 on the betting board. It is the Tampa Bay Rays, and they are on the road facing off against the Athletics, as Ryan Pepiot is on the bump for the Rays, and you've got old Jeffrey Springs on the bump for the Athletics. The Athletics are between minus 115 to minus 123 favorites, between even money to plus 105, that number on Tampa Bay. The total is 10, the under is minus 120, and the over is even, and for the Rays, I have this completely reversed. I set them at a minus 126 on the money line. I'm going to be willing to lay it. For Ryan Pepiot, I recognize that the fielding independent does not match up with the 377 ERAs at fielding independent is 458. He gives up about 1.6 home runs and 3.1 walks per 9 innings, and we've seen some regression out of him. 4 plus runs allowed in 3 out of his last 5 starts, 3 plus runs allowed in 4 out of his last 5, though I will say some of those were unearned runs. But for Jeffrey Springs, he's been all over the place this season, and he's seen quite a bit of a drop-off in terms of his whiff rate as well. For Springs, overall for his career, over 9.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. This year, 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, 389 ERA, 461 fielding independent with 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Now, comes in really good form with 1 or 2 runs allowed in each out of his last 3 starts, but for the Tampa Bay Rays, this has been a team that's been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of runs per game, with Junior Caminero really supplying the power. He's up to 30 home runs this season. Doesn't necessarily draw a lot of walks, but he has been able to do a nice job finding a way on base, actually up to 32 home runs now with a weekend that he had. And then Yandy Diaz, Brandon Lau, both of these guys, 20-plus home runs, both of these guys hitting above a 270. Jonathan Aranda is currently on the injured list, but you've got Jake Magnum, who's been able to give you 16 stolen bags. He's hitting at 280. Chandler Simpson, 32 stolen bases. He's hitting about a 285. The guys at the bottom of the lineup, like so Cam Risner, Taylor Walls, Christopher Morel, the catcher spot, has been a little bit rough for them, but the Rays always have one of the best bullpens in all of baseball, and the top guys have been very good. Eric Orze, Garrett Clevenger, Manuel Rodriguez, Pete Fairbanks, a whole bunch of guys that will be able to give you a sub 275 ERA, and on the other end, it's been a little bit hit or miss for the Athletics thus far this season in terms of their entire team. The offense has been able to hit quite a bit recently, as you've got a pair of guys with 23 home runs apiece in Brent Rooker along with Shea Langoliers and also Nick Kurtz. So a trio of guys, and Rooker's up to 24 home runs now. So these guys have really been able to match. They had a big weekend this past weekend, but that said, you do have Jacob Wilson currently on the injured list. Now Shea Langoliers is hitting for much more average out with a 270, Rooker about a 350 on base, and Nick Kurtz hitting above 300. So that's solid. Some of the guys at the bottom of the fold, like Max Muncy, not the correct Max Muncy, Gio Urshela, need a little bit more out of them, so it's a bit of a top-heavy lineup, but certainly have been able to get the firepower at the top, but what we also don't have is very much of a bullpen with this team, as Elvis Alvarado has actually been able to give you a sub-3.50 ERA, and then you've had Michael Kelly along with Sean Newcomb be relatively good long guys for this team, but then you've got the likes of Justin Sterner, Hogan Harris, Oswaldo Bido, Tyler Ferguson, a whole bunch of guys with an ERA that's hovering above a 5. So with the Tampa Bay Rays, I feel like they should be the favorite in this game. Set them at a minus 126, so like that money line, I did something total 9.7. I don't take a lot of unders out there in Sacramento, but going to be willing to do so here to go along with that Rays money line. 967, 968 on the card. The Washington Nationals are on the road against the Kansas City Royals, as Bailey Falter hopes to not live up to his name for Kansas City, and you've got Mr. Cade Cavalli on the bum for the Nationals. Nationals are an underdog between plus 122 to a plus 131, minus 145 to minus 150. The number on the Royals line is the total. The under is minus 120, and the over is even, and I did set the Royals at a minus 159. I'm going to be willing to lay the money line. I recognize that Bailey Falter gives up way too much contact, and he's doing for a bit of regression. 4.14 ERA this far this season, but that fielding dependent, more around a 4.95. He's only getting 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings while allowing 3 walks per 9, and last start against the Boston Red Sox got completely shellacked, gave up 7 runs over the course of his 5 innings, but Cade Cavalli, even though he had a really good first start, 4 1/3 innings scoreless for the Washington Nationals, I do have some concerns with him. If you take a look at the minor league numbers that he had thus far this season, he was over there at a wide variety of different stops. 5.35 ERA. He was getting 9.5 strikeouts to 3.5 walks per 9 innings, so there is encouragement there. He's better than the ERA would indicate, but he's also backed up by a bullpen that is dead sinking last in the big leagues in terms of ERA. There's just so many guys that are just not producing for you as they trade away Andrew Chafin and company, so those trustworthy guys that you had before, which you didn't have too many to start with, they're now all gone, and now you're going to be looking at the likes of PJ Poulin, Jackson Rutledge, Orlando Revolta, Andre Larry. All these guys give you an above a 5 ERA. Now, I will say for the Nationals, on the road, they're averaging about 4.6 runs per game. That is a top 10 mark in all of baseball. James Wood giving you good wood. 360 on base with 25 home runs. And then you've got Josh Bell, Nathaniel Lowe, C.J. Abrams, all between 14 to 15 home runs apiece. All three of these guys are hitting way more home runs on the road rather than at home. I'm not sure why, but they are. And then the young guys, they're not necessarily providing a lot of power, but I'm likes of Brady House, Robert Hassel, Dallin Lyle. They're in that neighborhood about a 242, 250, so they're finding way on base. And then for the Kansas City Royals, this has been an offense that has been quite a bit better ever since the trade deadline and ever since the All-Star break. That said, they are still a bottom 7 team in terms of runs per game, despite the fact that you've had Salvador Perez and Vinny Pasquantino really picking up 20 home runs apiece. For Perez hitting about a 245, closer about a 260 for Pasquantino, and then Bobby Witt Jr. is up to 30 stolen bags. He's up to 17 home runs. Miguel Garcia has been really good at moving the line, hitting about a 300, and then you've got a lot of guys that just have not been able to produce for this team. John Rave, Nick Lofton, along with the currently injured Jack Caglione, all hitting at 205 or lower. They do pick up Mikey Yastrzemski in a small sample size with the Royals thus far, a pair of home runs in 9 games, but also is hitting for about a 215, so could use a little bit more there for the Royals. This has been an upper half of the big league team with regards to their bullpen ERA. Lucas Erceg, Carlos Estevez, both giving you a sub-3 ERA is solid, and they've got Daniel Lynch off the injured list. He's been one of their more reliable relievers and can go multiple innings. Sub-3 ERA. John Schreiber has been having his misses recently, but do think that for Bailey Falter, he does a good job of keeping the Nationals at bay in this one. Semi-total at an 8.4. I'm going to be one take shot on the under of 9, and with the Royals, I did set them on the money line at a minus 159 if you're looking to lay run half. Once again, utilizing the old FanDuel opener with this one. Right now, I'm finding that in the neighborhood of a plus 150 with the Royals. I was willing to take a plus 138 or higher. So looking at the Royals on the run line, and I'm going to be in on that under as well. 969, 970 on the card. The Arizona Diamondbacks are on the road against the Walker Texas Rangers, as Nathan Eovaldi is on the bum for the Rangers, and we got Mr. Ryan Nelson going for the Arizona Diamondbacks. The total on this game is 7.5. The over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. With the Rangers, you're going to be finding them as Cardinals are a pretty good size favorite, and between minus 160 to a minus 165, between plus 135 to a plus 143 is that number on Arizona. And if you're looking at that initial run line opener that we're seeing on Texas, you're going to be able to get that at a plus 130, and sign me up there. I was pretty much willing to take even money or better with regards to this run line, as Nathan Eovaldi has just been absolutely amazing for this team. He's giving up fewer than 1.7 walks per 9 innings. He's only giving up about a half a home run per 9, sub 175 ERA. He would be, in my opinion, the leader in the clubhouse for the Cy Young Award right now if it wasn't for the fact that he got injured earlier in the season. Like, he has been that level good. Meanwhile, you've got a guy in Ryan Nelson who's been able to hold down the fort for the Arizona Diamondbacks. The problem is he doesn't have a lot around him, but Ryan Nelson does have quite a bit of upside. He's not going to blow you away with his swing and miss stuff or anything like that, but for Ryan Nelson, right now he's posting up for the season a 3.20 ERA. That's backed up by 3.77 fielding dependent, 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 2.7 walks, 1 home run allowed per 9. So he's been a pretty stable pitcher, and he's given up 200 runs or fewer in each out of his last 4 starts. The problem is he's backed up by a bullpen that's currently in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of ERA. Just a lot of guys that are just not producing out there in this bullpen, as you've had Kyle Bacchus, along with Jalen Beeks, Juan Murillo, when he's been getting opportunities, John Curtis with 2 S's. All these guys posting up an ERA that's well above a 4. And for the Diamondbacks, overall for this season, they are a top 8 team in terms of runs per game. Obviously, that was with Eugenio Suarez, along with Josh Taylor in the fold. Both of these guys are now gone, but so have Geraldo Perdomo, 383 on base. Corbin Carroll has all of a sudden been able to get very hot with the bat. He was rough coming off the injured list, but for Corbin Carroll, he's now been able to provide a home run in 3 out of the last 4 games, so that is very encouraging for this team. You need the young guys like a Blaze Alexander to be able to step up, but James McCann, wily veteran at the catcher spot, he's done a solid job of finding way on base with over a 340 on base. And then on the other end, you've got yourself a Texas Rangers team that has been averaging right around about 5 runs per game since the beginning of the month of July. Even though the season numbers are not necessarily great with a lot of these guys like Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, Wyatt Langford, all between 13 and 15 home runs, all in between about a 226 to 238. They've been much better recently, and Kyle Higashioka, since the beginning of the month of July, he has been able to hit well above a 340, so absolutely love to be able to see that. Josh Young has been able to hit about a 250 as well. They are dealing with an injury to Evan Carter, but this has also been one of the best bullpens in all baseball. For the Texas Rangers, top 5 unit with this regard, with so many guys like Robert Garcia, Sean Armstrong, Hobie Milner, all being able to give you a sub 325 ERA. They picked up Phil Matone at the trade deadline as well. That helped them out along with Danny Kalum. So I really do like the bullpen that this team has, and I do think that they're going to do a nice job holding down the fort against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, do you think that Diamondbacks bullpen gives up quite a few runs here, which is why I set my total at 7.7. I like the over and the Rangers on the run line, and we wrap things up with 971, 972 on the card. The LA Dodgers are on the road facing off against the LA Angels, as Jose Soriano is on the bump for the Halos, and Mr. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is on the bump for the Dodgers. And the Dodgers do find themselves as pretty good size favorites here. You're going to be laying between minus 173 to a minus 182, plus 148 to a plus 158. That number on the Angels, and 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8.5. Under is minus 120. The over is even on the 8. Over is minus 120. Under is even. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Dodgers, right now that's a minus 105, and I'm going to be willing to lay it with the Dodgers money line. I did set that at a minus 168, but the run line I put more in that neighborhood of a minus 107, minus 108, so I'm going to be willing to go up to a minus 105 here for Yamamoto. He has been giving up a few more walks than he did a season ago. He's up to about 3 walks per 9 innings, but still has been very good at limiting our contact, and he's still been able to get some good swings and misses all season long for Mr. Yamamoto. He's right now rocking a 251 ERA with closer to about a 290 fielding dependent, but still the 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings have been very rock solid. And for Yamamoto, he's been one of the best road pitchers in all of baseball this season. On the road, a .63 ERA, giving up 3 home runs in 66 and a third innings. And for Jose Soriano, he's essentially got reverse splits, as for Soriano, he's been much worse at home rather than on the road. Right now for Soriano, 355 fielding dependent, 401 ERA. He's only giving up half home run per 9 innings, but also 4 walks per 9 innings, only about 7.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and when it comes to what he's been able to do at home, the ERA just really rises to a 5.56 compared to a 2.48 on the road. 7 of his 8 home runs given up this year have come at home, and he's backed up by a bullpen that's currently in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of ERA. Just a lot of guys in this Los Angeles Angels bullpen that are, for lack of a better term, not getting the job done, as you've had that out of Ryan Zephyrian, Reed Detmers, also these guys like Sam Bachman, Jake Eater. They've given a lot of guys opportunities that have just not panned out. They're all posting posting up an ERA well above a 4. You've had Carson Fulmer be relatively solid recently. He's down to about a 3.20 ERA. He's a little bit of a long guy, and Kenley Jansen has figured it out, but too little too late. And for the Angels, bottom 6 team in the big leagues in terms of on-base percentage, though you do have a lot of power. Top 16 with regards to home runs on a per at-bat basis, as Joe Adell, 25 home runs with 296 on base. You've got Taylor Ward starting to get on base a little bit more with a 312 on base, 27 home runs. Zach Neto has been solid. He's been able to hit about a 270 with 17 home runs. Jorge Soler, though, he's been banged up and he's had a miserable year. Luis Sarnifo is starting to give you a little bit more, but a sub 300 on base with 7 home runs. Even Mike Trout, 20 home runs, but he's only getting a 238, so that's been interesting to watch, to say the least. And for the LA Dodgers, this continues to be a top 4 team in terms of runs per game, even though you've had Mookie Betts have a really rough season for this team, as Shohei Ohtani continues to carry the team, 385 on base, 40 home runs. Andy Paz, Teoscar Hernandez, 18 to 19 home runs apiece. Paz has been able to about a 280 for this unit. You've got Freddie Freeman hitting above a 300 with 13 bombs. Max Muncy, him coming back in the lineup is big, over a 385 on base, 16 home runs, about 270 at-bats for the Dodgers. This team is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Kirby Yates, Tanner Scott are both on the injured list, but neither have really been that great this season. They're getting Blake Tryon off the injured list. He's starting to be able to figure it out. You've had a pair of guys in Jack Dreyer along with Alex Vesia be very solid in this bullpen as well. They're both at a 3 or better with regards to their ERA, so do you think that the Dodgers go out there, get the job done against the Halos? I did so my total at 8.3. Between an 8 to an 8.5, I'd rather have the 8 over rather than the 8.5 under, and I'm going to be willing to lay that Dodgers run line. And that'll wrap things up for the Monday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Big thanks to William Boor over there at Action Network for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of 2 ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, LRCM, the name does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day on this podcast throughout the baseball season, regular season, and postseason. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.